All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive today into the world of financial abundance.
Mhm.
We've had a lot of requests to explore this topic, to look at it from different angles, and we've got some really interesting sources lined up for you.
It's going to be fascinating to compare these different approaches, right? We've got unconventional wisdom, some pretty bold business tactics, and some really down-to-earth practical guidance all in the mix.
Absolutely. We're going to be jumping between some pretty diverse material. We'll be looking at Gary M. Douglas's Advanced How to Become Money workbook. Then we'll move on to Donald Trump's How to Get Rich. And then we'll get some really relatable advice from Erik Wecks' book, How to Manage Your Money When You Don't Have Any.
It's an interesting combination, that's for sure. We're going to explore the different dimensions of financial abundance, from the mindset to the actions, and then the practical steps to manage what you've already got.
Let's dive right in with Gary M. Douglas. His book, it's not your typical financial guide. He doesn't lay out a step-by-step plan. Instead, he throws out these really interesting questions, kind of thought-provoking ones. What can I be that I am not being there? That if I would be, it would exponentialize my receiving off the charts of this reality.
That's classic Douglas, isn't it? Always challenging conventional thinking. I think what he's getting at there is that we put limits on ourselves without even realizing it. We get stuck in patterns and beliefs that prevent us from even seeing what might be possible.
So instead of focusing on the problem, he wants us to focus on the possibilities.
Exactly. He wants us to break free from that scarcity mindset, that idea that there's only so much to go around, and instead open ourselves up to the idea that abundance is, well, it's abundant. And it's not even just about money. I think it's about a whole shifting perspective, what we believe we can achieve and receive in life.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. We keep telling ourselves that we're not capable of creating wealth, then chances are, well, we're probably going to be right.
Exactly. Our beliefs, they really do shape our reality. And Douglas, he takes this idea a step further. He talks about money as a facilitator for the body's needs. He argues that maybe a being doesn't actually need all this material stuff, but our bodies, they do have needs, right? It's a different way of looking at it, but it also kind of highlights the practical side of money in our lives.
So it's not about becoming obsessed with money, but it's about recognizing that it can help us meet those basic needs and help us create a more comfortable life, a
Yeah.
more fulfilling life.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between appreciating the value of money as a tool, but not letting it become the sole focus of our existence.
Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Douglas also talks about how we can poison the well with our own limiting beliefs about money. We sabotage ourselves before we even start.
He uses some really vivid examples to illustrate that. Like he talks about someone who keeps planting seeds of doubt about their spouse's fidelity. Whether those suspicions are true or not, they start to create this really toxic energy, and it can end up damaging the relationship.
Right. It's kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy thing. If you keep suspecting your spouse of cheating, you might actually end up acting in ways that push them away.
Exactly. And Douglas, he applies that same concept to money. If we're constantly feeding ourselves these negative thoughts about money, I'll never be rich, or money is the root of all evil, we're basically creating that negative reality for ourselves.
So the big question then becomes, how do we stop poisoning the well? How do we shift away from that scarcity mindset? How do we move toward abundance?
Well, Douglas suggests we start by taking a look at those really ingrained beliefs that we have, those deep-seated beliefs about money, and asking ourselves, where did these come from? Are they based on our own experiences, or are they something we've inherited from our families, or just society in general?
And he also talks about how important it is to value our knowledge, our expertise, and not just give it away without being fairly compensated. He makes this really powerful analogy about it's like dealing the drug of consciousness.
He's really emphasizing the worth of what we have to offer. It ties back into that theme of self-worth, recognizing that we deserve to be paid for our talents, for our contribution.
It's not about being greedy, but it is about understanding that our time, our energy, our knowledge, all of that has value. And we shouldn't undervalue ourselves. We shouldn't be afraid to ask for what we're worth.
I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, especially, maybe creatives and entrepreneurs. They're so passionate about what they do that they sometimes end up giving their work away for free or undercharging for their services. And that just contributes to that cycle of scarcity.
So acknowledging our worth, that's a key step toward creating abundance.
Absolutely. And it goes hand in hand with another idea that Douglas emphasizes, which is actively creating opportunities instead of waiting for them to just kind of fall into our laps. He tells the story about a woman who was waiting for this government project to come through, and he encourages her to move on to other things.
He's basically saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
You got to be proactive. You got to create your own luck.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your own destiny and not being dependent on external circumstances. It's about creating abundance, not just waiting for it to magically appear. So Douglas really challenged us to think bigger, really embrace that abundance mindset. But now, let's kind of switch gears a little bit and jump into the world of Donald Trump and his book, How to Get Rich. Love him or hate him, he's built a pretty incredible empire, and he's definitely not afraid to share his unconventional wisdom.
Trump's definitely a polarizing figure, but I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of business gems we can unearth from his book, putting aside any political opinions. He's known for his bold moves, of course, that larger-than-life personality.
Right. And one of the things that really jumps out right from the start is his unwavering confidence. He truly believes he's going to succeed, and that belief really seems to fuel his actions.
And it ties back to what Douglas was talking about, that mindset. Believing in yourself, it's crucial whether you're talking about business or any other area of life.
Absolutely. It's like the foundation you build everything else on. And Trump, he really emphasizes the importance of delegation too. He talks about hiring really competent people and then trusting them to do their jobs.
Yeah, he tells that story about testing a new employee's speed. He pretended he was leaving in 15 minutes and needed something done by then. Kind of a strange test, but it definitely shows you how much he values results.
Right. It's about building a team, surrounding yourself with capable people, and then getting out of their way. Let them do their thing, and that frees you up to think about the big picture, the strategic decisions.
He also has that funny anecdote about a gorgeous European receptionist, one who couldn't understand most of the American callers. It really emphasizes how important clear communication is in business. It seems obvious, but it's easy to overlook.
I think that story highlights another important point. It's not just about hiring talented people. It's also about making sure they're the right fit for the role, for the company. Sometimes the most obvious qualifications, they're not enough.
Makes you think about your own hiring decisions, right? Have I always chosen the best fit, or have I been too focused on those impressive resumes without really thinking about the bigger picture?
It's definitely something to think about. And Trump also, he stresses the importance of understanding individual strengths. Even those that might not seem to fit the traditional mold. He tells that story about the boss who put up with an employee's outbursts because, well, they often led to these million-dollar ideas.
That's a great example of how sometimes those unconventional thinkers can bring so much value to the table. You can't always expect everyone to conform to your expectations.
It's about recognizing and leveraging those diverse perspectives and talents. It's almost about embracing those outbursts, seeing them as potential gold mines.
Trump also has this interesting perspective on learning. He's a big believer in learning from your successes, not just from your failures. We tend to dwell on what went wrong, but he encourages us to analyze those wins too, figure out what made them happen.
It's about building on your strengths, replicating those successes, recognizing those patterns and strategies that work, and applying them in the future.
And he also stresses the importance of continuous learning. Even when you've achieved a certain level of success, he's always reading, always learning, always trying to expand his knowledge.
It really highlights that learning it's a lifelong journey, right? Always room for growth, no matter how much you think you already know. And Trump definitely seems to embody that always be learning kind of mentality.
So we've got Douglas's focus on mindset, and then Trump's bold moves and those unconventional business tactics. But where does that leave the average person, the one who's just trying to make ends meet?
Well, that's where Erik Wecks comes in with his book, How to Manage Your Money When You Don't Have Any. He offers this much more grounded, practical approach. He really tackles those everyday struggles that so many people face.
So we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we, in this deep dive into financial abundance. We started out with Douglas's questions about mindset, and then we explored Trump's those bold business moves. And now we're landing with Wex and his practical tips for managing money. Especially, it feels like you don't have much. It's like we've gone from the philosophical to the street smart. I'm curious to see how all of this, how it all connects.
It's been quite a journey, and it is interesting. Even though these sources, they seem so different, on the surface, there are these underlying themes that connect them.
But give
Yeah.
me an example.
Well, all three of these authors, they emphasize the importance of awareness. Douglas, he challenges us to become aware of those limiting beliefs. And then Trump, he encourages us to be aware of those opportunities and to recognize those individual strengths. And then Wex, he stresses being aware of our spending habits, our financial
Oh,
values.
that's true. It's like that saying, you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Right.
Whether it's our internal beliefs or our external actions,
Mhm.
being aware it's that first step. It's
Right.
crucial, but awareness by itself, it's not enough, right?
Right. We need action too. We need to do something. Douglas, he encourages us to actively create those opportunities. Trump, he emphasizes taking those risks, making those bold moves. And Wex, he gives us some very specific strategies, for managing debt, for budgeting, for building an emergency fund. They each have their own way, their own style, but they're all pushing us to move beyond just thinking about abundance, to actually doing something to create it.
It's like that quote, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We can have all the knowledge, all the right mindset, but if we don't take action, nothing's going to change.
That's where Wex's practical advice, it really stands out. He really understands those struggles. Living paycheck to paycheck, battling debt, feeling overwhelmed by all those financial decisions. He gets it, and he offers a roadmap for creating some stability. He doesn't promise you'll be rich overnight, but he focuses on those small steps, those consistent steps that can lead to some real lasting change.
I really appreciate what he says about self-forgiveness, too. It's so easy to get caught up in the guilt and shame about past financial mistakes, but that just keeps you stuck.
Absolutely, we all make mistakes, but it's what we learn from them that matters. Wexy encourages us to acknowledge those mistakes, learn from them, and then let them go. Holding on to those negative feelings, it just keeps you stuck.
He tells that interesting story, too, about the wealthy developer, the one who never borrowed money, only lent it. It really kind of challenged his own assumptions about wealth and success. It's not always about those flashy displays of wealth.
Mhm.
It can be about creating value, building long-term stability.
It really highlights how true wealth, it often looks very different from what we see in the media or on social media. It's not about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about creating a life that feels abundant for you on your own terms.
Wex actually argues that instead of chasing this elusive idea of financial freedom, we should focus on achieving financial stability.
It's a much more grounded goal, right? Much
Sure.
more achievable. It's about building that solid foundation. You
Yeah.
can meet your needs, you can handle those unexpected things that pop up, and you can pursue your goals without being weighed down by debt or that constant worry about money.
And one of his key strategies, one of the things he suggests for achieving that stability is creating a zero balance budget where every dollar is accounted for, you know exactly where it's going.
I know some people think of budgeting as restrictive, but I really see it as empowering. It's about taking control, making sure your money is working for you, not against you.
He's also really big on avoiding credit card debt. He points out that psychological impact of using plastic. It's just so easy to overspend when you're not actually handing over cash. And then those bills come due and it just keeps going.
It's a trap, easy to fall into, especially nowadays. But Wex reminds us that real stability, it comes from living within your means and avoiding those high interest debts that can just spiral out of control.
He also stresses the importance of that emergency fund, that safety net, so that when those unexpected expenses come up, you're not forced to go into debt.
That cushion, it gives you so much peace of mind, and it can prevent those minor financial hiccups from turning to major crises.
And then, of course, he also encourages us to think about saving for the things we want so we can enjoy them without that added burden of debt. Imagine going to vacation and coming home and no credit card bill waiting for you.
That sounds like freedom to me, and he emphasizes that satisfaction that comes from knowing you've earned it, you've saved for it. It just adds a whole other level of enjoyment.
So we've got Douglas's mindset shifts, Trump's bold moves, and then Weck's practical strategies. It seems like the main takeaway here is that financial abundance, it's multifaceted. It's more than just having a lot of money. It's about aligning your mindset, your actions, and your financial habits so that you create a life that feels truly abundant on your own terms.
I think that sums it up perfectly. It's about finding that sweet spot where those three things come together, and it's about remembering that financial abundance it's a journey. It's not a destination. It's about making conscious choices, learning, growing, and always striving to create that life that feels, well, that feels aligned, that feels fulfilling, and yes, that feels abundant.
So any final thoughts for our listeners? What's that one nugget of wisdom you want to leave them with today?
Well, I would just encourage everyone listening to really reflect on their own definition of financial abundance. You know, what does it actually mean to them? What are your values? What are their goals? What are your dreams? And what are those steps that you can take today, even if they're small, to start moving in that direction? It's about taking ownership of your financial journey and creating that life that reflects your vision of abundance.
Beautifully said. And remember, it's not about comparing yourself to other people or chasing after someone else's idea of success. It's about creating a life that feels authentic to you, that feels fulfilling to you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into financial abundance. We'll catch you next time.